Hello and welcome to your first YouTube mark scheme that you'll be using to mark your exam questions on hypotheses that you have done for me. So let's have a look at how you use this. So complete the worksheet first. This can be typed or written, I don't mind which you do. If you struggle even before you start, return to your revision resource you have made to practice first. Then if you still struggle, think carefully about the revision resource. Is it useful? If it's not, you need to try all over again. There's no point wasting your time on these homeworks, me setting the revision resources and you wasting that precious time that could be spent doing much better things, making rubbish revision resources that you'll put in a folder and you will never ever use again. So have a go at the questions. If you think I haven't got a clue before you even start, go back to the revision resource. If you still think I haven't got a clue, maybe you need to think carefully about your revision resource and make another one that is better, and avoid using that type of revision resource again. So just think of it as a learning experience. Go right, that doesn't work, let's try other things. And then if you're still stuck, do come and find me. You've got your worksheet, it's completed. Find a different coloured pen, so anything other than green please. I'm marking green and I won't mark all of these because obviously the mark schemes help, but different coloured pen, anything other than green, or the pen you've written in. Watch this video, which you're doing, give yourselves a mark for each question and explain why. If you didn't get full marks, explain why you didn't get full marks. So if you got 2 out of 3, what did you not do? At the end, look for any patterns. Are there any mistakes that you keep making? And update your revision resource to allow you to practice this. So if you consistently get confused between the IV and the DV, then you need to improve your revision resource to celebrate that. And then celebrate and feel smug because you've done something to ensure a higher grade. So complete it, mark it, explain why you haven't got full marks at any point if you haven't, look for patterns, and then make notes or update your revision resources to factor in that. Okay, write a suitable hypothesis for the study. So this was the first question that we looked at. So you get 1 mark for writing an appropriate hypothesis. This could be either directional, non-directional, or a null hypothesis, so you could choose any of those. You get 1 mark for operationalising the IV, which is waiting alone or waiting with another person, and 1 mark for operationalising the DV, the number of participants who go to help. So operationalise is saying the number of participants, so you're giving it a number, and then the IV is waiting alone or waiting with a person. You've operationalised it by saying condition 1 waiting alone or condition 2 waiting with another person. So if you went non-directional, you'd say there is a difference between when the participants wait alone and when they wait with another person in the number of participants who go to help someone. So you've said it's non-directional, you've written that correctly, you've operationalised the IV, you've mentioned both conditions, and you've operationalised the DV, you said both numbers. Directional, when participants are waiting with another person, they will be more likely to help than when participants are waiting alone. So that'd be directional, more or less likely. You've named both conditions, alone or with someone else, the number of participants they're likely to help, and you've said directional. So for those you get 3 marks. If you haven't done one of those, note that you haven't done it and give yourself 2 or whatever. Write a suitable hypothesis for this study, so it's the next question. 1 mark for an appropriate hypothesis. It can be directional, non-directional, or null. 1 mark to operationalise gender, so male and female, and 1 mark to operationalise the DV, the estimation of their score on a maths test. So that's a number, the estimation of their score. So either there is a difference, you get a mark for, that's because that's a non-directional. In men and women, you've mentioned both conditions, so that's another mark, and the estimates they gave their score on a maths test. So that's the 3rd one, because an estimate can be given in a number. Or if you did it directional, men, and then later on you've mentioned women, so that's 1 mark. We'll give higher or lower estimates, so that's the directional. That's the 2nd mark on their estimates of their score for a maths test. So have you written appropriate hypotheses? Could have done null as well. Gender, have you mentioned men and women, and have you mentioned estimates on their score of the maths test? Identify 1 aim of this study. 1 mark for a brief or muddled aim, so to investigate whether participants can identify a man in a photograph, or to investigate eyewitness testimony, or to investigate memory. So it's half there. And then for 2 marks, the aim must be detailed. To investigate the effects on eyewitness testimony, or to investigate eyewitness testimony in a natural setting. So either of those would have got you the 2nd mark. Identify the IV in this study, whether participants record the world in the same room or a different room, or you could say the classroom or the school hall. So what you must have done there is you must have operationalised. So to get the full marks, you must say whether the participant record the word in the same room or a different room. Condition 1, same room. Condition 2, different room. Or you've said the classroom or the school hall. You could use either of those. So that's for the marks. Write an operationalised non-directional hypothesis. So it must be operationalised and it must be non-directional. So 1 mark for identifying that it is correlational. So because it's a correlation, because it's non-directional, you shouldn't say positive or negative. If you haven't said there's a relationship or you haven't mentioned there's a correlation, you don't get any marks. 1 mark for 1 operationalised covariable. So these aren't called IV and DV, they're called covariables for the happiness score. That's operationalised because it's a number, and 1 mark for the other operationalised covariable score, so intelligence test score. 1 mark for identifying it's a correlation and not saying positive or negative because it's non-directional, just as a correlation or a relationship. You can have a mark for either of those. 1 mark for happiness, 1 mark for intelligence, making sure they are operationalised. So there's a relationship between happiness scores and a questionnaire and intelligence test scores. And psychologists decided to propose a directional hypothesis. Why was a directional hypothesis appropriate in this case? So we talked about this in class, it's really, really important. 1 mark for an accurate reason. The decision to use a directional hypothesis was based on findings of previous research, which pointed to an effect in a particular direction. So they knew that previous research indicated memory is poorer with age. You don't do as well in memory when as you get older. Previous research has shown that, so it must be directional, because if there's previous research, you would use it. And then write a suitable directional hypothesis. 1 mark for making it correlational, so because it's a relationship. 1 mark for 1 covariable, age, and 1 mark for the other covariable, recall accuracy rating. So they're both numbers and specific. It's got to be directional, so there is a negative correlation between age and recall accuracy rating. So because it talks about correlation or relationship, it is correlation, and because there's previous research, you get 1 mark for saying why you've used the directional hypothesis. Okay, identify the operationalised independent variable and the operationalised dependent variable in the study. So 1 mark for age and 2 marks for operationalising it. So you'd only get 1 mark if you said age, but if you said the whether the children started daycare before age of 2 and after age of 2, that's operationalised because it's condition 1 and condition 2. So if you said before daycare, before the age of 2 and after the age of 2, that's 2 marks. If you just mentioned age, then that's only 1 mark. The dependent variable is aggression score as assessed by the researcher. So you just get 1 mark for just saying aggression, 2 marks for operationalising it, so making it clear that it's numerical. Aggression score, measure of aggression, level of aggression. The best one would be aggression score because that makes it really clear that it's a number. Should the hypothesis be directional? Explain your answer. 1 mark for explaining that a non-directional hypothesis is suitable. So you get a mark if you say it should be directional, or if you said it should not be. Sorry, it should be non-directional, or it should not be directional. So if you said it should be non-directional, or it shouldn't be directional, you can get the mark. The wording doesn't matter. The information is the most important bit. And explaining why. There is no reference to evidence that allows the research to predict the direction of the results. There's no if you've mentioned there's no previous research, so it should be non-directional because there's no previous research, so researchers can't predict which way the direction will go. Suitable hypothesis, 1 mark for a correlation again, so you do have to watch out for them. They do come regularly. Covariable map reading score, and then the other covariable driver error ratings of motorists. So are they both numerical? There's a relationship between the map reading score and the driver error ratings of motorists. Non-directional, correlational, both covariables mentioned. There we go. Give yourself a mark. See if there's anything in particular that you've missed. Bring that into session, please. Thank you.